Alright guys, so this video is going to cover the last two sections from your Chapter 6 review. This is section 6.5 and 6.6, which are the ones that we did yesterday and then the day before in class. So you probably want to use some additional space for 8a and b, because in order to get the graph fully set up and then an x and y plot, you may have to do a little bit more than what's available space-wise here. So go ahead and grab a straight edge or some graph paper. And we want to start off by plotting a, which is 9 times the square root of x minus 1. So anytime you're coming across a graph that you haven't seen before, one of the things that we talked about is how you just want to begin by plotting 4 or 5 points that are going to give you some basic shape information. And it's okay to aid that visual understanding with your graphing calculator as well. So I'm going to plug in the values of 0, and let's plug in 4, and 9, and 25. So I'm going to take each of those values, just 4 random points to begin with, and I specifically picked ones that are perfect squares, because if I'm plugging them into a square root, I'm going to get some nice integer values that way. So if I first plug in 0 here, I'll have 9 times the square root of 0, which is 0, and then I'll subtract off 1, so I'll have minus 1. Then if I plug in 4, I'll have the square root of 4, which is 2. 9 times 2 will give me 18, minus 1 would become a 17. Then if I plug in 9, I will end up with 9 times the square root of 9, so 9 times 3, which is 27. Subtract 1, we'll get 26. And then last up, if I plug in 25, I will have 5 times 9, which is 45, minus 1, which is going to be 44. So let's go ahead and plug these values in. I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 25 is kind of way over here on my graph. But then I'll go ahead and plot my points. So 0, negative 1 happens right about here. Over 4, let's make 17. That's not quite even. Let's go ahead and give that a little bit higher along our x-axis, or along our y-axis. And then 9 and 26 is going to be right about here. And then that 25 and 44 is going to be more over here. So just getting the general trend of the graph down. Look better on graph paper, but we can just definitely see the shape here. Now let's contrast that to our parent function of just regular old y equals the square root of x. So y equals the square root of x is just going to look something like this right here. So a couple of things have changed here. One thing that happened is that our graph moved down by 1 because of this minus 1 right here. And it also stretched out vertically. So it's getting much larger, much faster. And that's due to this 9 that's out in front. So those two transformations, we have a vertical stretch. And then we also have a vertical shift down by 1 because of that negative 1. So at that point, the last thing that we really want to be able to do is identify domain and range for any of the graphs that we come across. So for this 9 root x minus 1, our domain describes our x values. And our x values for this pink graph here begin at 0, because I can't plug a negative in to a square root. So they start at 0 and then they can get as large as I want, so they go up to positive infinity. Our range, if we look at the smallest y value the graph touches, occurs at negative 1. And then that y value is going to continue to increase up to positive infinity. So that's our domain and range for this particular graph for part A. So now in order to make some space, I'm going to erase this graph and come down to part B. So part B is a little bit different because we're going to take a look at a cubic root function instead of a square root function. So I'm going to give myself another xy plane to work off of here. And just like before, I can get a general sense of the shape of the graph using my calculator, and then I can pick some specific points to plug in and see a little bit more what that shape will look like. So it doesn't matter what points you pick. As long as you pick some that are small, some that are large, some that are at 0, you're going to get a pretty good shape of the graph's trends. But in general, it can be nice to pick ones that will work out to be even valued numbers. So I'm going to pick negative 10 and -3 and -2. And then I'll also pick -1 and I'll pick 6. And we'll see how these ones work out. So first up, if I plug in -10 to this operation here, I'll have -10 plus 2. That will give me -8. Then -8, if I cubic root that, I'll have 5 times the cubic root of -8, which is 5 times -2, which is equal to -10 as well. If I plug in -3, the result that I'll get out is -1 times 5 will be -5. -2 will be 0. -1 will be +5. And 6 will be 5 times 3, which will give me 15 here. So that's my, oh, I'm sorry, that one I messed up right there. I said 5 times 3 when I plug in 6, but I meant 5 times 2, so that's going to be a 10 here. So let's get that sketched out. We've got -10, -10. So let's go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we're down right about here. -3, we're down at -5. -2, we're at 0. And then -1, we're at 5. And then over at 6, we are up at 10. So from that point on, what we want to do is to connect our values here to see what our cubic root graph is going to look like. Now let's compare this cubic root graph to our parent cubic root graph, which looks something like this. So just like with the square root, we have 2 different transformations going on. We also have a vertical stretch here. So anything that's bigger than 1 is going to stretch it out, so it's going to be larger vertically. Anything that's less than 1, so a fraction like 1/4 or 1/2, is going to condense it in towards the axis. And then this +2 gives you a horizontal shift or a horizontal translation. And what that means is we shifted left. So we went left by 2, and that's the new center of the graph there. Last thing we want to identify here are our domain and range values. So our domain here is going to go from -infinity to +infinity. And our range here is also going to go from -infinity to +infinity. Because with a cubic root function, I'm able to plug in any x value. I don't have any restrictions. And then I'm able to get any y value out. Next up, you guys, we have a couple of equations to solve from section 6.6. So with these ones, where our goal is just to solve for x, and we're just really following our order of operations to undo the equations and get x by itself. So for number 9, what we want to do first here is subtract over the 9, which will give me 54. Then I can divide both sides by 2, and we'll have x to the 3/4 power is equal to 27. Then what I can do is I'll raise both sides to the reciprocal exponent. So I'm going to raise this side to 4/3 and this side to 4/3. So that will cancel the exponents on the left. And if we raise 27 to the 4/3 power, we get out 81. So our final answer here is just 81. Then, number 10, a and b, we have 2 different radical equations. So for 10a, what we need to do is to undo that square root. And to do that, we're going to start off by squaring both sides. That's going to get rid of the square root, but it also means we're going to have a foiling operation. So we need to multiply x minus 2 by x minus 2. So on the right-hand side, that will give me x squared. And then I'll be subtracting 2x and subtracting 2x again. So I'll be subtracting 4x, and then I'll be adding 4. From there, I need to combine like terms. So I'm going to add over the x, which will give me x squared minus 3x. And then I will subtract this 2 over. So 4 minus 2 will give me a plus 2 result. Once I have a quadratic that is all set up on one side, I want to see if it can factor. So I want to ask myself, what multiplies to positive 2 that could also add to make negative 3? So that can come from taking x minus 2, x minus 1, and multiplying them together, which is going to give me the solutions of 2 and positive 1. Now, just like we talked about in class, one thing that we need to do is to make sure that when we plug both values back in, we check to see whether we have any extraneous solutions. So if we plug 2 back in, that is going to check out. But if we plug 1 back in, it's not going to work because we'll end up trying to take a square root where our result of the principal value of 1 is not going to be equal to the negative 1. So this is our extraneous solution here. Then we have one more of these, and this one has a little bit more going on, so you may want to get out an additional piece of scratch paper to solve through this one. This is going to take us one step further, or kind of test our skills out one more step beyond what we got to in class yesterday. Same beginning step though. We've got a square root. Only way to undo a square root is to square both sides. That's going to get rid of that square root, so we'll have 3x plus 1. But on the right-hand side, we are going to have to FOIL with a square root that has a binomial expression. So we're going to have a binomial inside of a binomial. So let's FOIL this one. We'll have 3x plus 1 equals, my first terms, 4 times 4, gives me 16. Now my inner and outer terms are both going to involve a 4 times the square root. So I'm going to have minus 4 square root of 5 minus x minus 4 times the square root of 5 minus x. And then what's going to happen here at the end is anytime I multiply something under a square root, I'm just going to get rid of the square root if those expressions match up. So I'll end up with minus 5 minus x. So now I have some serious like term combining to do. So I'll have 3x plus 1 over here.